Blog Talk Radio.
Best-selling and award-winning author of true crime and crime fiction, Yvonne Mason is back with a brand new book, The Pink Canary, a book that delves into the life of a drag queen and a marvelous whodunit. You can find this and all of Yvonne's other works on Amazon.com or find Yvonne Mason on Facebook and Twitter.
You're gonna kill me.
Buy your copy of Pink Canary now.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, it is Saturday night. This is Off the Chain. I am your host, Yvonne Mason, and yes, we've been dark for a couple of nights. Two of my people canceled, and I took the nights off to regroup because y'all know I run this show about 4 nights a week, and sometimes it gets a little tiring, but it's still fun, even after almost being here a year. That was an ad for my comedy murder mystery, The Pink Canary, set in Key West, Florida. It's about a drag queen named Lola who owns her own drag queen club. She's also a private investigator during the daytime. My friend Chris Dunham did the ad for me, and he does a fabulous job. So if you're looking for ads, whether it's for books, movies, businesses, whatever, look him up on my Facebook page and get him to do an ad for you. He's reasonable, and his ads are top-notch. I have to tell you, I am so excited, ladies and gentlemen. As y'all know, this is the anniversary month of the show. The show went live on July the 27th last year. Our first show was about my granddaughter who sadly passed away from an asthma attack, and the fact that her legacy is still with us because she is an organ donor. So this whole month has been a show of reflection, a show of different many emotions that have been going on. And this morning when I ran the numbers, because I am a numbers person, and I want to see how we're doing because the show is popular because of all of y'all, my listeners, my guests, like the young lady we have tonight, Miss K.M. Johnson-Davis, who I can't wait to get the show with her started. And the fact that y'all share the show, you give me feedback, you send me guests, it's amazing. Well, this morning, just on the show itself, ladies and gentlemen, we are at 18,418 listeners just on this show. I had said that I wanted to have at least 20,000 listeners by the end of the year, and now, ladies and gentlemen, we will have 20,000 listeners before the end of the month. I have no doubt about it because we're only 1,500 listeners away, and it is because of all of y'all. When you add all of the podcasts that I put this show up on after the show goes into archives, ladies and gentlemen, we have hit 30,119 listeners. To me, that is absolutely amazing for a show that is under a year old. It is humbling. I am full of gratitude and appreciation, and y'all keep me grounded. Because without all of y'all, I could sit here and talk to myself, and I wouldn't go anywhere. So I'm just a facilitator. Y'all are the driving force behind this show, and I'm very grateful. And, yes, I have to give a shout-out to Australia. You guys rock. Y'all are 99% of my Blog Talk Radio audience. I am so, so appreciative for my friends from Australia. Y'all are simply amazing. We are heard in over 70 countries, ladies and gentlemen, and places I never even heard of. So if you think that my guests are not being heard and your voices are not being heard, oh, yes, you are, in a big, big way. So thank you from the bottom of my heart, and let's keep rocking off this chain. Before we talk to our guest tonight, I have a sponsor that I need to throw out there. He is an author. His name is Darren Cox, and he has a book. And KM, this is right up your alley. Don't Let the Enemy Steal From You, A Crown of Thorns to a Crown of Righteousness by Darren Cox. And it goes like this. Don't let any man, anything, or let any situation in your life ever steal the things that God has ordained for you to have. One of the great things of my generation that I see, one of the great things that breaks my heart, is I see a generation that has no idea of the destiny and the future and the hope that God has for our generation. I look at young people in hopelessness. There's so much. We have the cars, we have entertainment, we have the lights, we have everything that the world could offer a generation, and yet there's never been a generation more unhappy and more depressed. Ladies and gentlemen, order this book today. You can find it on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. Order it for yourself, for your children, because we have a great generation of young people. They are our future, and we need to help them become our future. So with that being said, this beautiful young woman that I have tonight is going to also help us know when the struggle is over. I first talked to this beautiful woman when she was deployed in Iraq. She and I were talking about this before the show. She is a veteran, and for that I say thank you, KM, so much for your service, because you were in a place I never want to be. She is an absolutely amazing young woman, and she is a visionary leader. She is the CEO and founder of KM Johnson International, which is a coaching and consulting firm that specializes in teaching entrepreneurs and business leaders how to do life, business, and faith by design. KM is an internationally known motivational speaker, consultant, author, minister, and entrepreneur. She has served as an officer in the U.S. Army, been the business operations manager for a Fortune 500 company, and ran 2 successful businesses along with her ministry. Previously, KM hosted her own live radio talk show titled Faith by Design, which was produced by KM Johnson International Ministries and aired weekly on Christian talk radio station 100.7 FM. The Word. KM is a contributing writer for Arianna Huffington's Thrive Global and the author of Knowing the Struggle is Over, and It Starts With You, which comes out this fall. Currently, she travels nationally and internationally conducting seminars, talks, and trainings on faith, leadership, success, vision, and purpose. And ladies and gentlemen, you have to have all of those in order to be successful, because inspiring others to build their faith and live in the vision and purpose that God has given them is what KM is most passionate about. She focuses most of her time speaking and consulting. Thank you, KM, for agreeing to be on this show. And ladies and gentlemen, we have already set her up to come back on January the 31st. Welcome, my friend. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for having me, Yvonne.
Well, thank you for the honor of coming on this show and sharing things with us, because you are a busy, busy lady. You make my head spin. I thought I was busy. I got nothing on you much from my friend, nothing at all. First of all, I want to say thank you for your service. Thank you for the sacrifice you made, and thank your family for the sacrifice they made of having to worry about you in a place that most people don't understand. Some of us don't want to be there, and yet you went willingly, and I am forever grateful for that.
Well, thank you so much. Before we go forward, I just want to say you are the most inspiring person that I think I've met since I entered into the self-publishing industry.
Well, thank you, my darling.
I remember when I first met you, when I first got in contact with you, 9 years ago when I published my first book, and you gave me so much help and so much support that I couldn't find anywhere else, and I wanted to make sure that I thanked you for that.
Well, you don't know how that sent chills down my back. And the reason I say that is not because it makes my head swell, but it keeps me humble. People have been kind to me in this journey that both of us have been on, and have supported me when the rest of the world walked out. And because I can't pay it back, I want to pay it forward. And in order for me to be successful, I've got to help you to be successful. That's the way it works in this industry we're in.
Mm-hmm. Well, so, I just thank you for all you do.
Well,
all you've done for me especially.
You are so welcome. And to see, ladies and gentlemen, to see this young woman spread her wings and fly. I have followed her religiously all of these years. And to see her spread her wings and fly, I feel like a mama bird that watches its baby fly away from the nest. So let's step back into history a little bit, KM, because like I said before the show, our product, what we sell, what we do, what we write, that's not our brand. Our brand is from within. Our brand is us. So enlighten our audience about how you got to this place in life, because your life has been journey, detour, different path, detour, journey. And how did you and when did you come to the conclusion that your struggle was over? What got you to that point in life?
Well, let's just be real. You know, the struggle is never always completely over.
That's true.
You know, because we're always, there's always something that we're going through at any given point in time. It might not be in the same area, but, you know, there's something that you have to get through. And so my book definitely helped me to learn how to navigate through those different trials and tribulations of life. But how I got to where I'm at, you know, it was everything that I have had the pleasure of experiencing over the course of these years. Every twist, every turn, every detour led me to the point of where I'm at now and helped me to become who I am. And I think that even with the struggles that transpired in my life along the way, they helped me to grow. You know, they helped me to really solidify actually who I am, you know, at my core and on the inside.
So would it be safe to say, KM, that things that happened in your life that might not have been pleasant were just defining moments? They did not define you. They were just defining moments in that time, and once you moved on from that, you didn't carry it around like extra baggage. You just left it back there, learned from it, and moved on.
Exactly. You know, there's a quote that I have in my book, and I'm not saying this to trying to promote my book at all.
We're promoting the book, honey. We're promoting the book. That's part of the gig.
Funny. But it's funny because, you know, I actually reflect back to some of the things that I said in my book to help me, you know, and there was one thing that I said you're not the situation you're in. Okay.
I love
and,
that.
You know, and so sometimes I'll find myself having to go back to that. Something bad happens. I have to remind myself, wait, KM, you know, all right, look around. This is what it looks like, but this is not who you are. Just because you're in this situation doesn't mean you have to become the situation. Or as I said in there, I think just because you're in the situation doesn't mean you have to be the situation. You don't have to become what you are a part of. If there's chaos around you, you don't have to become a part of the chaos. If there's, you know, anger, you don't have to be part of the anger. If there's, you know, devastation, if there's there's lack around you, poverty, any of those things, you don't have to become that. And what that means is that as long as you center yourself and remember who you are and who you were created to be, and you continue to be that person regardless of your situation, then you can get pushed through it, because there's always going to be another side of it. There's always the end. If there's a beginning, there's an end. And so even if you're at the beginning or in the middle, you just keep pushing through to the end.
And would it be fair to say that for every problem, there is always a solution?
Definitely. You know, I know someone had written on Facebook a while back that they hated it when someone said everything happens for a reason. Well,
it does.
I kind of wait a little bit sometimes, and I don't usually comment on a lot of controversial stuff. I try to keep it to myself. But I was like, you know, I said, unfortunately, everything does happen for a reason, regardless if it's a good reason or a bad reason. And
it's either by design or it's either by design or it's by intent.
Exactly. And the thing is how you perceive it, how you perceive what happens for you and what you do with it. And so we have to remember that in the Word, in the Bible, it tells us that all things work together for the good. So that when you say all things, you're saying that all. It's inclusive of good. It's not some. It's inclusive of bad. It's not many or most or maybe things happen. It's all things happen for good. So at the end of the thing, it's going to work out for your good. And so, again, remember how I said earlier, if there's a beginning, there's an end. So it's that same mindset, knowing that if this began and it's bad right now, there is an end, and in the end, it works for my good.
And so it may not seem like it while one is going, because you yourself have been through some dark times, and it was by intent because you chose to go and serve our country. And part of going to choose to serve our country, you were deployed to a dark place, but that didn't make you a dark person.
No. And it didn't turn out to be a dark situation. Yes, I was deployed, and yes, there were bombs flying over, and we had, I was deployed twice. I was deployed to Bosnia once and then another time to Iraq. Of course, Bosnia wasn't as bad as Iraq. However, they both had their own situations. While I was in Iraq, did I face any incoming? Yes. Did I face any danger? Yes, I did. More often than not. But when I left with a published book, a future husband, the man I'm married to now, and a new direction on what my life was meant to be. So a lot of things came out of that were good, even though it was not such a good situation to be into, from the beginning.
Would it be fair to say that more times than not, we become our own worst enemy when we're faced with situations? Let's take connecting your personal story to real life situations. So you're in Iraq, bombs are going off, gunfire's going off, don't know if you're going to be overrun. You could be sitting there moaning and groaning and saying, why did I do this? Have I lost my mind? I want to go home. I hate it here, and just made yourself and everybody else around you miserable. However, you made a conscious decision. I've made this decision. There's a reason I made this decision. So in making this decision, I have to live with the consequences of this decision. And the end result of making that conscious decision, living with those consequences, were we found each other. You published a book. You found the man that's the love of your life. You now are nationally and internationally conduct seminars. It puts you on a path that you might not have taken had you not made that decision.
Exactly. And so that's why I was saying earlier, too, that everything, along the way, it leads up to who you are to become. So instead of looking at each of these situations, and I'll be honest with you, when I went into this situation, when I went to Iraq, when I got the news, Yvonne, when I got the news, I remember exactly where I was when they called me. I remember exactly what I was doing. And I remember, when the unit secretary, so to speak, when she called to let me know that my name had come down on the list, I was stunned because there was some things that I thought were about to happen in my life. I had been praying and asking God for certain things. I had a great interview that morning. Like, I just thought my life was about to go in this different direction. And then I got that call. And honestly, not everybody gets this opportunity that happened next for me. But my commander called me in 2 days later, and he asked me, did I want to go? I had a choice. He told me what my mission would be. He told me the situation. He said I was first on the list, but he would give me the option. Did I want to go, or did I want them to go to the next person? And I said, I'll go ahead and go now. Because I thought about it, I said, you know what? Who gives you the option? When do you get that opportunity? Usually they just say, you're going, and that's it. But this is the chance, this is the time where I'm given a chance. I'm giving I'm given the opportunity to determine whether or not I want to go. Next time it might not be so simple, and it may not be great circumstances, because timing is very, very important when it comes to our life.
Absolutely. Yes.
So, so I know that moment was a very integral point, because you mentioned earlier about choices. And our life, that's what it's about. It's about the choices that we make.
And also, another dimension to that statement was when your commander called you and offered you that choice, my gut tells me that he knew in his heart that you would make the right choice.
And I think so. And, the circumstances around when I had to go, I was the battalion HR officer at the time. And so when I deployed, I was not going with my entire unit. I was deploying alone. They attached me to one enlisted soldier that was in a totally different, city. I'd never even spoken to her. And then she and I would go as the command team, be dropped into a unit from Puerto Rico, and then be attached to units from all over. So I ended up having to be over, soldiers and airmen from different parts of the States and Germany, which was a very unique situation. But
so you weren't with – now, ladies and gentlemen, what KM is saying is when you were in training, and correct me if I'm wrong, usually the battalion or platoon that you train with, you're all deployed together. You move through the ranks and files together because you become a unit. You work as a unit. You work as one person. You have each other's back. So when they dropped her into this strange, different environment, I am sure there was some sense of apprehension because you didn't know these people. You hadn't trained with these people. You hadn't learned their nuances, their idiosyncrasies, whether or not you could trust them because you hadn't been put in mock combat situations with them. Would that be a fair statement?
That would be a very fair statement. Every person that I was connected to they met me, aside from my NCO that went alongside of me. They met me when we got in country. When we got to Iraq, that was their first time meeting me. Hey, she's going to be over you, and you're in charge of these guys. And so
they didn't know if they could trust you.
Exactly. And, and so that was a very, very, very unique situation, like I said. So my whole unit is back in the United States, and I was the only one that was in Iraq. Now, there's so much I could do with that. I could take that biblical for you. I could take that philosophical for you. I mean, you can look into that and just see, there's always destiny and purpose in everything that happens to us.
Absolutely. And the bottom line, ladies and gentlemen, or the thing that KM is trying to say is KM was given a choice, go or stay. KM made the decision to go, which tells me that KM has not only courage, but she has character. She was dropped into a situation where she literally was, they were service personnel, but there was not that camaraderie and that close-knit family unit thing going on because she had not gone through boot camp with them. She'd not trained with them. So she was with strangers. Both sides had to learn to trust. Now, not only was she with strangers, but she'd been dropped into a combat zone, and there was a period of adjustment, I'm sure, with y'all learning to adjust to each other and trust each other and know each other's nuances. And you're right, there's a lot of biblical, philosophical, and practical that we can take from that. And first thing I would say is always have courage. And courage is doing things that you're afraid to do, but you push on anyway.
And, and it's not even just it's also like looking outside of your own personal fears and looking at the bigger picture. You
True.
know, not thinking about how this is going to affect me, but how this might affect us.
Exactly. Because your comrade in arms were looking at you and probably going, okay, who is this person? Has she got my back? I'm not sure because I don't know her. And it's as with any relationship, even in your personal relationship with your husband, you had to lay that foundation, and you had a very short time to lay it once you got in country, I'm sure. You had to fast track that foundation real quick.
Yes, ma'am.
So, taking that experience, what would you tell someone that you were talking to in a group from that experience, that real life experience? What would you put out there for others to glean from?
You know, honestly, before I went to Iraq, we were in Mississippi doing our training before going. And I remember hearing a lot of people complaining, oh, I don't want to deploy, I have this, I have that, all these different things are happening in my life. This, you know, I just want to go and get this over with. I wish I didn't have to go. All kinds of different, comments. And I remember taking a group of soldiers to the side and I said, write down 3 things other than money that you will get from this experience. 3 things, 3 good things about going. Don't think about all the negative stuff. Just find three things. And, of course, a lot of them, couldn't think of anything. Well, the only good thing about going is, well, no, you need to think about 3 things. Find those 3 things. Dig deep. Think about how this can be a great experience for you. I tell you that because when you go into a situation, because when something gets ready to happen to us or is about to happen or is happening, we kind of sense it. We know that this is the beginning of it. And it's hard to look past that initial frustration. And for me, what I got from the entire experience was holding on to those 3 things, holding on to those 3 expectations of something great from my experience. It helped me to see, again, the bigger picture. It helped me to look past the negativity. It helped me to get past fear, apprehension, frustration. It helped me to really dig deep inside and say, how am I going to grow from this? Because that's really what I think, our lives are about. It's about growing, not remaining stagnant.
Because if we remain stagnant, would it be a safe statement to say it's like anything that becomes stagnant, it eventually dies?
It eventually dies. And then, like with water that sat for too long, in a sink or in a, if it hasn't been moving, like in a, I guess, like when we have rainwater, it just sits there, it begins to smell.
Mm-hmm.
And so you don't want that. You don't want things to stink or become stale or die in your life, and so you have to always be thinking, how can this make me a better person? Because by you becoming a better person, again, it affects everyone else around you.
And would it also be fair to say that all of the negativity that started creeping into the platoon as y'all were training to be deployed, that breaks down the cohesiveness of the unit itself, and it creates stumbling blocks and brick walls and tears down relationships, just like in any relationship, to the point that once y'all were deployed, that you would just have a mishmash of people that aren't watching anybody, not even themselves.
Well, yes, and in that particular situation, everyone that was training wasn't necessarily going to the same place. But what I would say is that in any situation, if you have a lot of negativity and doubt, there's no way you can succeed. You know, doubt and success cannot coexist. So if you expect to achieve or accomplish something in the positive light, if you're constantly doubting it, you've already defeated yourself. There's just no way that you'll be successful. If you are negative about a situation, the negativity begins to eat, it begins to eat away at you. Now, I mean, I can go a little bit deeper with this because for me,
keep going. Keep going, my friend.
What I've learned is that everything is really about your mindset, okay? And that's why, the book says knowing, because the only way you know something is that you have come to the conclusion in your mind that this is what it is, right? So knowing the struggle is over, you know this for a fact without a doubt. You have no negativity, nothing in your mind. If you are constantly doubting, being upset and angry and bitter, yes, it begins to change the people around you. It begins to affect their mood. But to go deeper, that turns into sickness in your body. Okay, let's just be real. That turns into pain. That turns into headaches. That turns into depression. That turns into things that sometimes you have to get outside help to fix, but you didn't get outside help to get there. You brought it on yourself, and now you got to get someone to help you fix it because you allowed yourself to go there.
And the part of that is making excuses for everything in your life.
Mm-hmm.
When you have that doubt, well, it's somebody else's fault, or it's my boss's fault, he doesn't like me, or it's my friend's fault, they don't like me, or I'm not perfect, my hair is this, my clothes are this, it's my life situation.
But remember what I said earlier? I said it's not about what happens to you, it's how you perceive what happens to you. Your boss may indeed not like you. It could be a fact. He could write it down on a piece of paper and hand it to you, or look you in the eye and read it. I do not like you, but it does not matter.
It doesn't define you. It's just, that's on him, not you.
Exactly, and that's the bottom line. That has nothing to do with you. That's something they need to deal with internally, and you continue on with doing what you know is the best thing to do. Let me just take a second to empower for a minute, because this is what I've learned. Like when we come into a struggle, whether it's financially, whether it's spiritually, whether it's just emotional struggle, whatever it might be. Generally what's happening is we begin to break ourselves down. And when we're blaming other people or we start to blame how we were created, saying, oh, I don't like my hair, it's my hair, or I don't look good enough, or I'm not this, I'm not that. We're trying to find a reason why we didn't do what we were supposed to do in the first place. And that is to be who you were created to be. If you have blonde hair, brown eyes, and you're 5'1", 95 pounds, that's just how you were created, and so be it. Go on with how you were created. Don't make excuses for those things. Use those as your tools, because everything that you were given, your skills, your abilities, your talents, your gifts, even the experiences in your life, they were a gift. Everything that you've been given created. They help to create who you are, and they're there to help you to pursue your purpose and become who you were destined to be.
I'm gonna tell a real quick story, because what you just said took me 30 years to come to that conclusion. When I was younger, at 2 years old, I don't know why, but I knew that I had to please all people all the time. And the grown-ups fed into that, because they would always say, Yvonne, you're the strong one. You have to, when somebody would die, Yvonne, you're the strong one. You have to help your mama. You have to help your daddy. You're the oldest daughter. You have to do this. You have to do that. And then the teachers would say, you're not good enough for this. You're not good enough for that. So I would try to be all things to all people. And I wound up, KM, losing the uniqueness of me.
Mm-hmm.
And when I woke up and I said, wait a minute, people, This is who I am. If you like it, fine. If you don't, that is not my problem. It is your problem. Because this is me, and I kind of like me now.
Exactly. You know what, though? But guess what? Everybody has that story. I've come across so many people. They may not have the story of people turning them into a people pleaser and not accepting them for who they are, but they have that story of, not accepting themselves for who they are, and for so many years trying to be whatever they thought others thought that they should be. I have that story. I have that. I was not necessarily a people pleaser, but I was a parent pleaser. I wanted to do what I thought would make my parents happy. But when I finally told them I wasn't going to law school, I think that crushed everything for them, and I was free from there. But
that wasn't your dream; it was their dream.
Well, it was my dream at first, but I think it was my dream because I thought that it would have made them happy.
Right.
And it wasn't until maybe a year ago. I remember my husband and I. It's crazy, but we sat one day. We were sitting in the car. And I finally just turned to him and I said, I don't like washing dishes. This is who I am.
Good for you.
Sleeping, but I love mopping. I'm tired of trying to be this person that I'm not. I love you and I want to be the best wife to you, but I can only be the best wife to you if I can be myself. And stop trying so hard to do all these things that I'm not good at because they're not who I am. And then so he told me all the things he didn't like to do. And we came up with, a system, and we were able to work together. And I think that we are so much better now because we were so open with each other about who we truly were instead of trying to be these perfect people for each other. And it's the same thing with people outside of your marriages and relationships. You have to, when you embrace who you were created to be, which you really, truly enjoy doing and you really, truly don't, and stop trying to do all these things that have nothing to do with who you were created to be, you'll find much more, fulfillment, and you'll actually start to accomplish and achieve things.
And the thing is, you will, as a general rule, you will find that all of a sudden these people have moments of epiphanies and their eyes are open and they're going, oh, I didn't know that about you. Wow. Mm-hmm. How amazing you are. Because we lie to ourselves, KM. And when we stop lying to ourselves and we embrace our flaws, this is what I tell people. I am opinionated, I am domineering, and I am overbearing. And those are just my good points. But I'm also loyal and lovable and honest, and I will go to the wall for you if you're right, but I'll be the first one to nail you to the wall if you're wrong. But I always have your back, right or wrong. I will have your back. And those are good points, too. Yes, I have flaws, but that's okay.
And we all do. And I think that's the point that people seem to miss. Whether
Absolutely.
You're sitting in the highest position in the world or you're sitting at the lowest position in the world, we all have flaws. We all have something that can be corrected. We all have something that's not so quite perfect. And it's just who we are. It's how we were created. But we have to be able to accept that. It's funny that, you were saying earlier about how we lie to ourselves. I will tell you, 99.9% of my coaching clients spend the first 90 days learning how to stop lying to themselves. Because I tell them that everything that the conversation that we have is like them talking to themselves. I'll say that sometimes, like pretend like you're talking to yourself. And so when they start saying things, I can tell that they're not being quite honest with me. And if they're not being quite honest with me, then they're definitely not being honest with themselves. I've even had to have them, sometimes I'll have them have a mirror up and talk into the mirror and say the things that they're saying to me. And you start to realize, hey, wait a minute, I'm not really telling the truth, am I? This isn't really who I am, what I want, what I desire, where I'm trying to go with my life. This is all scripted and what someone else told me.
And it's like the blinders. It's like the scales fall off of the blind man's eyes, and they start to see more clear. And then comes the ability to start accepting where they are in life. And when people can accept where they are in life, is it not true that they can begin to accept others where they are in life?
Yes, it's very true. Let's just say, okay, not even just accepting where you are. I like to say, and it's coming to my mindset to say, knowing the position that you play on the field. If we were all a big softball team and I know that I'm the right fielder and I know what my position is and I know how to play and stay, do what I'm supposed to do over here, I'm not worried about you. And I can accept that you might be the pitcher. I can accept that you might be, on first base, whatever. I can accept that because I know where I'm supposed to be, and I know what I'm doing.
And the rest will take care of itself.
Exactly. But if you notice how I use the analogy of a softball team or a baseball team or whatever, because we're all connected.
Yes.
So even if you may be doing your Blog Talk Radio show and I'm, over here speaking, we are still connected. We are still connected. This is still going to benefit. We will benefit each other in helping move whatever needs to be moved forward if we do what we're supposed to be doing at that given time.
And if we encourage one another from our positions, and let's go back to the softball team. You're in right field, and I am the pitcher, and I'm having a bad moment. What does the team do? They rally around the pitcher, and they give them encouragement, and they help them to come up out of themselves and be the best they can be.
Exactly, and that's how it should be. Because even though you might be doing well, in your spot, you may not have had any issues where you're at. The sun may not be shining in your eye, but the pitcher is having some issues where, on the pitcher's mound, then just because everything's all gravy over here doesn't mean that I can't go over there and see about you and help you out. And
exactly.
I think we get so lost in our situations that we tend to forget those little, those simple things that can help move everybody along.
And like you say, we are all moving in a direction. And most of us want to be the best we can be. Some of us don't know how. Others are struggling because we keep carrying the past with us like a ball and chain. We haven't learned how to let it go and stay back there in the past and just let it be defining moments and not part of who we are. So those of us that have traveled that path, it is up to us to pick those souls up and say, okay, let's get you dusted off here. Let's wash your face and dry your tears, and let's show you how to put one foot in front of the other.
Yes, definitely. And then, there's going to be those anomalies, that there will be those times where you just can't pick the person up. You can't dust them off. They're rejecting it. And those things happen, and those times happen. Because I don't want people to get discouraged if they're like, well, I've been helping, so-and-so, and they're just resisting. Well, then you've done all you can, One thing that I've always said is, I remember when I was in high school, I said I didn't want to live a life of regrets. And what I meant was I wanted to always try to the best of my ability in every situation. And when I've done everything I possibly can, that's when I'll give up.
Yeah, because I've
lived by that.
Some people, after you've done all you can do, and ladies and gentlemen, I've had to do this myself, and it's like death by 1,000 cuts, because when one has done all they can do, and the person that they have strived so hard to help continues to resist for whatever reason, you're still going to love that person, but you have to cut them out of your life, because if you don't, then you become like them. And two people are going by the wayside. Now, if that person decides, wait a minute, I'm losing more than I'm gaining, and they have changed the direction they're going in, embrace them. But at some point, you have to say enough, because you can't be pulled down in that rabbit hole.
I mean, and think about it. When you were saying that, it made me think about I was at a Girl Scout swim party when I was younger, and I didn't know how to swim. And we were all supposed to stay in the shallow end. They were throwing water balloons into the water. And they threw one, and it was those pools, that used to have like the little slope all of a sudden to the deep end. And so I was racing after the balloon, and I went down that slope, and I panicked. And I saw my friend, underwater, so I start grabbing her bathing suit. Now, I'm panicking. So had I kept trying to pull, trying to get help from her, we weren't going to go anywhere. All we were going to do was go down, because I wasn't trying to go up. I was pulling her down. And so it made me think about, people when they need help, they're going to be grabbing at you, but if you're not strong enough to pull them up, then you're just going to go down with them. So there's two things to that, I guess, is where I'm going. But, so either you keep treading water with them and they eventually stop panicking and then they come along with you and they paddle on out, or they keep pulling at you and the next thing you know, you're drowning and sinking with them. And you have to know when to do what. When to say, okay, you're still pulling at me, so I'm going to have to let go, or okay, now you got yourself together, let's get to the side.
That is a great analogy. I love that. I love it. Now, let's talk a few minutes about a phrase you use called faith by design. Because I'm sure a lot of people are going, what does she mean by that? So explain in the few minutes we have left, because this is why I say you're coming back in January, because we're quickly running out of time. Explain about faith by design, KM.
So really, faith, everything that we do, I believe, is by design. And faith by design was birthed out of the thought that, in the Bible it tells us that we are all given a measure of faith, of faith. It doesn't say if it's an ounce, a quart, or a pound. It just says a measure. And so it also tells us that if we have faith as a mustard seed, I'm not going to finish the scripture, but it talks about the mustard seed. And if you know the size of a mustard seed, that's not that big. And then there's other phrases throughout the Bible that talk about your faith, and I believe that our faith can be grown. Obviously, if we are given a measure, we know that all we have to have is a mustard seed to do certain things, but it can be grown. Then there's a design that happens there. It's being designed and crafted by you. Your faith starts out at a certain level, and throughout your life, and throughout certain situations, and it may go up and down along the way, but your faith is designed by your life. It's designed by your responses to life, how you respond to life, how you interact, how you grow it. And it's up to you to be able to nurture it and grow it.
Would it be safe to say that we can go back to the old adage, is the glass half empty or half full? And as my son says, it's still just a glass. So what he's saying is, it's a glass. What we choose to do with that glass, or how we choose to fill or empty that glass, is on us. It's our responsibility. So our decision of whether the glass is half empty or half full, that is, again, faith by design.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, and it also, I'm going to have to be with your son here on this, and I have to say it depends on the size of the glass, too. But
I like that. Perfect. And that is true, because it could be a 3-ounce glass, or it could be a 20-ounce glass, or it could be a gallon. And,
exactly.
And with everything that goes on in our life, and ladies and gentlemen, we all have trials and tribulations. It is what it is. I used to pray for patience. Well, when I prayed for patience, stupid me, I forgot when you pray for patience that you're sent trials and tribulations, because that builds patience. So
yes,
I quit praying for patience. Yeah. I just prayed for strength to get through the trials and tribulations. I said, enough. I don't need the patience. Forget it. Have too many trials and tribulations. I get it. I'm done with it.
You know, I want to say, like, when it comes to faith, though, you have to have a belief in something. Either you believe in it or you don't believe in it, but either way, you're believing.
Exactly.
So,
that is true. You are absolutely, and that whether you're a self-proclaimed atheist, whether you believe in God, whether you believe in the spirits, that whatever you believe in, there is a faith there. And this is where people trip over the word faith. They take that word and say, well, I don't believe in God. That's okay, but you believe in something. You believe there's no God, so you have a faith that faith is the substance of things not seen, or the faith is I get my scripture screwed up. It's the evidence of things not seen and the substance of things hoped for. So they have a faith. Everyone has a faith in something or someone.
And, I mean, we have faith in the chairs that we're sitting on. The chair you're sitting on right now, you have faith in it because you did not check to make sure the screws were tightened before you sat in it.
Exactly.
You know, we have faith in the gas that we put in our cars. You know, I think all the time when I'm putting that premium in my gas tank, is this really premium? But I'm still pumping it, aren't I? So I really do have faith that that's premium coming through that hose. And so, you know, why then, if you can have faith in those things, why can't you have faith in your ability to get through a situation that you've been faced with, your ability to come out on the other end, your ability to achieve or accomplish those things that you set out to do?
Love it.
Because at the end of the day, what it is that you don't have faith in yourself if you don't.
And that states it perfectly. And I would venture to say that 99% of the world, from the leaders of the world on down to the janitor and the Fortune 500 company, 99% of the people have no faith in anything.
Mm-hmm.
Because they haven't yet learned what that word entails in the big picture.
Well, if they continue down that road, then that's where what we talked about earlier, the doubt and the negativity and the bitterness and all of that comes from. And then, you know what, that is all that you're going to have, because we attract what we are. And so if you've become this bitter person and this person filled with anxiety and fear and destitute and negativity, then that's what's going to keep coming at you. You know, and so until you turn that around, nothing else will turn around.
That go ahead, finish, please.
Well, I was going to say, and that is what knowing the struggle is over is really about. It's about knowing how to turn that mindset around so that you stop seeing the thing for what it is through your natural eyes, and you begin to allow what you are, the possibility of it being the good part, when you start to allow that to manifest. And by the end of that thing, it will manifest.
And with that, ladies and gentlemen, because we're going to run out of time, this hour has flown by. I've loved it so much. You have inspired me yourself. Tell the folks where you can be found.
You can check out my website, www.kmjohnsondavis.com. And I'm all over Facebook, all social media. Just Google my name.
And ladies and gentlemen, she's wonderful. I'm telling you, I love this girl. Never met her in person, but I feel like that I have known her all of my life. And she's right. We all are part of a unit. We can either all win together or we can all lose separately. It is up to us, and everyone knows my philosophy about this and the fact that if we don't have dreams, we don't believe in dreamers, then we have no future. And before we run out of time, I want to thank KM for being here. And yes, she is going to come back in January. We will continue this inspiring, uplifting, positive conversation. And if we helped one person tonight, just one person, to knowing when the struggle is over and knowing that it starts with them, then, ladies and gentlemen, this show has been worth every minute. So, KM, thank you, my darling. Don't hang up when the show goes dark because I want to chat with you for just a minute. But I wanted to say, ladies and gentlemen, y'all all know at the end of the show, I say these things. Don't just feel special. Be special. It took me a long time to learn that. And if you want to achieve greatness, please stop asking permission, because you don't have to have anyone's permission to be great. You are great. Your smile is your logo. Your personality is your business card. And how you leave others feeling after having had an experience with you, ladies and gentlemen, y'all all know I say that is your business card. And that goes perfectly along with tonight's show, because it is our intent on this show to inspire, and to help others succeed both in their personal life, their spiritual life, their emotional life, their physical life, and their professional life. And KM has been one of the biggest cogs in this wheel, and I am so grateful for her. And I cannot wait for January so that we can do this again. On Wednesday night, ladies and gentlemen, we start up a brand new week for our anniversary month. We have author M.N. Snow, first time on my show. On Thursday night, hopefully we'll have Christina Franco, who is the wife of an Army veteran with PTSD. And we're going to talk about wives of veterans with PTSD because, ladies and gentlemen, they suffer from PTSD as well. On Friday night, I have this wonderful, wonderful mom and wife, and just she's an amazing person. Her name is Melissa Green, and she and I are going to spend an hour talking about children and raising families and some of the struggles that she has to face every day with homeschooling and breastfeeding and the looks she gets and the nasty comments she gets and how she meets those head on. Saturday night, we're going to have a new author, Janet Taylor Perry, on. So next week promises to be a huge, huge week for us in our anniversary month. So I ask you all to join us at 8 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time. This show will go up in archives just as soon as we hang up. I will post it on my page. Feel free to listen anytime, share it. And tomorrow it will go up on podcast.com, Podcast Garden, Spreaker, SoundCloud, and Mixcloud. It can also be heard on TuneIn Radio, FM.com, iTunes, YouTube, and, of course, this show itself, as well as Stitcher, which is heard on Sirius Radio. This is what I say, ladies and gentlemen. We're heard in over 70 countries. So share this show with folks. If you're hurting, if you don't know what direction your life is taking, if you're trying to fall down in that rabbit hole, we hope that tonight will help you. Am I right, KM?
Yes.
Any closing, see, I can't talk anymore. Any closing thoughts you have in the 30 seconds we've got left?
Just remain, being encouraged. Everything that Yvonne said is great. Just you don't have to ask permission to be who you are. Just start to find out who you are and then live in that. Be true to yourself and authentic.
So with that, ladies and gentlemen, my guest, KM Johnson Davis, and I say thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being a part of this successful show. And know that these great things out of every one of our listeners, because you all have a purpose. Your children have a purpose. Your family has a purpose. Find that purpose, make it happen, love yourself, be true to yourself, and on Wednesday night, we will see you again here at Off the Chain at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. This is your host, Yvonne Mason, and my guest, K.M. Johnson, saying good evening. KM, we're in archives now, and of course all this will be heard in the archives, but I just wanted to say again, thank you, my sweet friend, for coming on the show and inspiring us. I can't wait till January.
Thank you for having me.
I hope you had as much fun as I did.
I did. I really enjoyed meeting with you again, and I'm going to have to meet you in person. I'm going to have to make that happen.
Oh, absolutely. Anytime you want to come to South Florida, honey, pick up the phone and say, I'm on my way.
Well, you know what? I might. I have my best friend is in Miami now, so I might have to.
Well, see, I'm north. I am north of her. I'm 3 hours north of Miami. Yes, I'm in Port St. Lucie, right on the way to Miami.
She was in Tampa, and then she moved to Miami.
Well, just come on down. We'll be here.
Definitely. I'll let you know.
All right, darling. Thank you again, and we will continue this conversation in January.
All right. Thank you, ma'am. Talk to you then. You have a wonderful weekend.
You too,
Bye.
sweetheart. Bye-bye.